All right, that's my cue. Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I am an alcoholic, and I have a home group. My home group is a Zoom home group. It's the Salt Dixie group. We meet Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my sobriety date is April 11, 2011. And the least important thing out of all of that is that my name is Deya, and I am thrilled to be here. I'm always thrilled to be in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm kind of excited because I see somebody that I know from down here, Barbara and Kevin, and I love them so much, and it's so great. It is wonderful. I love AA. So I want to thank Stephen for asking me to come out here and I love going to meetings and sharing, my experience, strength, and hope. I love telling people from my own language and from my own point of view how I established my relationship with God here in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm extremely blessed to be here. Today I want to talk about my dogs. Just kidding. Just kidding. If you ever hear that in an AA meeting, run for the hills. If anybody wants to talk about their pets or their relationships or their jobs, run for the hills. I love AA. AA for me is a triage. We're either helping or being helped. It's not group therapy, it's none of that. So we're helping people survive. I suffer from an illness that if I don't treat it, I die from it. And I'm completely convinced of that. So that's what I got here at AA. I got treatment. So I love AA. And when I talk about AA, I mean the program of action that's in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We have a textbook. I love my textbook. The title of the textbook is how thousands of men and women have recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. And I always like to say, if that book said how thousands of men and women have won the lottery or the Powerball, everybody would be reading it and rereading it and taking out like a microscope and trying to figure out how to do it. And did I miss a word? Did I miss a sentence? And that's how I see the big book. That's how I see the big book, because I did win the lottery in AA. I won something a lot more than the Powerball when I landed here in Alcoholics Anonymous in April, of 2011. And I am grateful for that. So how did it happen? So what was I like? Which is one of the most misunderstood sentences in AA. Everybody always likes to say what it was like, what happened, or what it's like now. It has nothing to do with it. It's what I was like, what happened, and what I'm like now. I change. Circumstances don't change. Other people don't change. Things don't change. I change. I change in Alcoholics Anonymous one day at a time. And I'm grateful for that, because I needed to change. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my allergy, because any story that does not have that in the picture is incomplete. And the big book tells me that. I got offered my first drink at 17. And so I got offered my first drink. What I used to say when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I used to say, your story. Your story sounds a lot like my story, right? It says our stories disclosed in a general way. Right. So I have come to find out that God discloses more and more of my story to me. And I come out here and I disclose it to you guys. So at the beginning, your story sounded a lot like my story. And your story sounded like, everybody was taking their first drinks and it was magical. And it's what they've been waiting for their whole entire life. And they suddenly felt like ease and comfort immediately. And that sounded very much like what happened to me. So that was my story for a while. I know for a fact today that that's not why I took the first drink. I got offered a drink at 17 years old. And the truth of the matter is that I would have never on the face of the planet said no to anything. I wouldn't say no to anything. I have an extreme, alcoholics call it people pleasing. I've never met an alcoholic that has pleased another person my whole entire life. I'm sorry to mention that. It is fear of people. I have an extreme fear of people. And when somebody says, hey, you want this drink, you bet I'm not going to say no. You bet I'm going to say yes, because what I think is going to happen is that I'm going to tell you no, and then you're going to make fun of me. I'm going to tell you no, and you're going to think that I'm a loser. I'm going to tell you no, and you're going to think that I'm not cool. I'm going to tell you no, and you're going to go the next day to school and you're going to talk about me behind my back. And why do I think that way? I think that way because that's how I operate. If you do something to me that I think is silly, that's what I think of you. I talk behind your back. I think that you're uncool. I call you a loser. I make fun of you. So I think I've thought people my whole entire life operate the same way I do. I think people think the same way I do. I think people talk the same way I do. I think people do the same thing I do, which is why I'm always a skeptic, which is why I'm always a cynic, which is why I'm always watching my back, which is why I always can't trust you, because I'm a completely untrustworthy human being. So they offered me a drink and I took the drink and nothing really happened. Nothing really happened. I didn't, the allergy didn't kick in immediately. I didn't, keep on drinking the whole entire night. As a matter of fact, I pretended that I was drunk, because I thought that was what you were supposed to do. So I pretended that I was drunk and we had a good night and I went to school the next day and all was fine. I graduated from high school. I graduated from high school. The goal was to be valedictorian in my school. Like, I was going to be valedictorian. I went in there my freshman year knowing that I was going to be valedictorian. I rehearsed the speech in the mirror. I was going to impress you, and when I graduated the bottom 1% of my class. Why do I do this? Because I don't apply myself. I don't want to work for anything. I feel like I deserve everything. I should be given, the valedictorian title just for showing up. You're lucky that I'm even here at this school. I think grandiose ideas about myself that nobody else is thinking. I don't apply myself. I'm not responsible. I don't like responsibility. I run away from responsibility. So I barely graduate. So the next step is to go to the local community college. Why? Because everybody else is doing it. And if everybody else is doing it, well, then that's what I have to do. And while I was at the community college, I was offered weed, and I don't have to apologize, to anybody for saying, or to talking about weed, because the truth of the matter is that, our only requirement is a desire to stop drinking. If I'm an alcoholic, I know very well that I am an alcoholic. I know very well that I have the allergy and that I have the mental obsession, and it just happens to be part of my story. I have an allergy to alcohol, and you will soon see that. So somebody offers me weed, and I say this because my thought is I've always been terrified of doing things like that. I'm terrified of doing that. I always say that I would never do it. As far as I'm concerned, the only people that were smoking weed around me were they were just eating Funyuns and playing video games all day long. I wanted nothing to do with that. And somebody says, hey, do you want this? And I immediately say yes. Full of fear, but I step into the unknown. Full of fear, and I step into the unknown, not knowing what it's going to do to me, not knowing where it's going to take me, not knowing what it's going to do to my body, not knowing what it's going to do to my mind. I've never even, researched it, but yes, and I started doing that all day, every day. A year later, somebody offers me cocaine, terrified of it. Listen, I saw Nancy Reagan. I knew. I saw say no to drugs. I saw your brain. This is your brain on drugs commercials. I knew everybody was dying left and right. Everybody was, OD'd. It was a huge issue, going on in the United States. And somebody said, hey, you want this? And I immediately, full of fear, stepped into the unknown. Yes, because God forbid I tell you no. God forbid I look a certain way in your eyes. And I did that all day, every day. And I started, drinking heavily while I was doing that. And by the age of 20, I was already intervened in my home. My parents found bottles all over my room, all over my closet, all over my shoe boxes, all over my trunk, all over the front of my car. I mean, inside pocket. It was everywhere. So I get intervened, I get off everything else, but I keep on drinking because drinking is socially acceptable. And there really isn't an alcoholic in my family. So they really don't know what's going on. They think that that's the problem. And I really did think that that was the problem too. So I just kept on drinking. I keep on drinking. I drink, to go to work because I need to go to work. I drink to sign up at my class and show up to class. I'm just drinking around the clock, and I don't know why I'm drinking around the clock, but it feels like something that I'm doing because I want to be doing. I try to get a job, because everybody else is getting a job, so I have to get a job. So I get a job, and I'm like Jim. I show up to work on a Tuesday. Like what happened to Monday? Don't ask me. I'll probably lie to you. I'm showing up on a Tuesday. I show up on a Tuesday. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, somebody calls me within the hour, says, hey, we're here, we're drinking, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I faked stomach cancer to leave work, because I have to go drink, because I have to go drinking. So I'm drinking, and it's looking like I'm drinking because I'm having fun. And I'm telling everybody that I'm drinking the way that I'm drinking because I'm in college. Mind you, I might be signing up for college, but I'm not going to classes. I'm not going to classes because all I'm doing is drinking. But I have this delusion and illusion in my head that I've actually convinced myself that I am a college student, and therefore I could be drinking the way that I'm drinking. Everybody graduates college, everybody gets jobs, they start like the happy hour, and I start, with my friends as well. I'm still in school, supposedly, quote unquote, and I'm drinking. All I do, listen, my story is uneventful. All I do is drink. I came here April 2011, okay, on my second intervention, God willing, my last. And, my parents told me that they knew that I had a problem. The big book says that we're armed with the facts. Thank you, God, that my parents were armed with the facts as well. They told me that what I had was an illness and that they were going to get me some help for it. And I had a fit. Because I was doing in 2011 the same thing that I was doing in 1994, and you could not tell me that that was not my norm. My alcoholic life seemed to be the only normal one. I came into Alcoholics Anonymous drinking, and this is not a requirement for everybody. This is how I came in, and I'm so grateful that I came in this way. My first step is on the 6th step on the 12 and 12. It says that when men and women pour so much alcohol into themselves, they do a most unnatural act. It says that I'm hell-bent on self-destruction, that I need to have a terrific beating administered by alcohol. Then and only then can the grace of God come in and expel my obsession to drink. The fellowship loves to call it the moment of clarity, the big book in the 12 and 12, and I call it the grace of God. I had a terrific beating administered by alcohol, years and years and years. I came in here drinking around the clock, waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, making myself throw up at noon so I could keep on drinking, doing the same thing at 5 o'clock so I could keep on drinking, okay, and doing the same thing over and over again, beating myself up at 3 o'clock in the morning because I did it again. Because I couldn't get my crap together, because I couldn't get my life together, because my sister had her life together. I didn't have my life together, because my neighbors had their life together, and I couldn't get my life together, because my friends were getting married and getting degrees and having families and getting their life together, and I could not get my life together, and I would hate myself so much at 3 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't stand myself. I would even hit myself from the anger that I would have that my life turned out the way that I did. And I would tell myself, tomorrow it will be different. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to sign up and I'm going to go back to college. Tomorrow I'm going to apologize to these parents out there that I made them cry again. Tomorrow I'm going to redo my resume and I'm going to get a good job. Tomorrow I'm not going to hang out with the people that I don't even want to hang out with and do the things that I don't want to do and say the things that I don't want to say. Tomorrow is going to be a brand new day. I know it is. I know it is. And tomorrow comes and I have a vodka bottle under my bed, and upon awakening, without even opening my eyes, I start the day all over again. Why do I do this? The big book is plain and simple. It tells me that without help, it is too much for me. Without help, life is too much for me. Life is really hard for a person like me. To get out of bed sober is extremely difficult. To walk out of my house sober is extremely difficult. To have a conversation with somebody is extremely difficult for a person like me. I don't know how to function in life. And I'm completely aware of that. It says that humility is the clear recognition of what and who I am. I know exactly what and who I am. Of myself, I am nothing. The master does the whole work. I am nothing. I cannot operate in life without help. It is too much for me. So I come into Alcoholics Anonymous in 2011, and the heavens opened up for me. I could not believe people were sober. I cannot believe this organization existed. I couldn't believe what was going on here. I couldn't believe that you guys were going to help me. I couldn't believe that I had 2 days sober. I've never had 2 days sober. I had not had 2 days sober in over 15 years. And I had 2 days sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And I wanted more of it. And I was in tune. I listened, I love it because they say that in AA, we don't judge you, but then they say, stick with the winners. Stick with the winners. And you know what? I knew exactly who the winners were. You didn't have to tell me. I knew exactly who the winners were. In Bill's story, it says that we frequently meet here so that the newcomer could find the fellowship they seek. I know exactly what fellowship I was seeking. Whatever fellowship I was hanging out with, the opposite is what I was seeking. I wanted to hang out with responsible people that were not drinking and that looked like somehow they had their life together and they knew what they were talking about. Kind of like people with faith. That's what we agnostics said. That I couldn't stand people with faith because people with faith actually knew where their life was going and what they're doing. And I couldn't stand that, but for the first time ever, I accepted all those things. Supposedly the principle behind step 1 is honesty, right? And I love it and it talks about rigorously honest in how it works. And I love it that it says that, but A is so loving. A is exactly like God. It is so loving that the amount of my rigorous honesty doesn't even have to be anything that I say. It just has to be an admission of everything that you tell me. For example, Alcoholics Anonymous is very clear, not the fellowship. AA, the program of action, is very clear. It tells me that it has description of the alcoholic. AA has a description. It's not the church's description. It's not my neighbor's description. It's not my aunt's description of what my uncle is if he's an alcoholic. It's AA's description. And if I agree with AA description and I say, yes, I am, I'm being honest. I'm being honest. When AA tells me that I'm selfish and self-centered and driven by 100 forms of fear, it's not like I think of those words. AA tells me those things, and I agree with it. I agree with it. And if I agree with everything that the AA's description of the alcoholic, then 2 through 12 is going to work fantastic for a person like me. I'm not defiant in AA. I didn't argue with anybody. The word God did not offend me. Alcohol offends me. I'm scared of alcohol. I'm not scared of God. I wasn't scared of God. I was not a believer. I didn't have faith. But I wasn't opposed to it. I wasn't opposed to it because I knew that I came in here not knowing anything about life. I knew that I was the biggest loser on the face of the planet. And I kind of had an idea that you guys were going to help me out. So I needed to listen. And I needed to do the program of action that's outlined in the book. The 12 steps are not the program of action. It says it in the summary on the forward to the 3rd edition. It's a summary of the program of action. In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the steps are in the book. So I must read the book to know exactly what I got going on here in AA. Because if I want to get sober in AA, I need to know what AA is. So I read about the description. I read about the allergy. I couldn't believe that that's what I had. I didn't know that that's what I had. AA puts a language of something that I've been thinking my whole entire life. I've always wondered, why is it that I show up to class? I always have to stop like at the local grocery store. I have to buy 2 bottles of wine. Of course, the alcoholic can't just buy 1. I have to buy 2. Just in case a World War III, happens to pop up. So I buy 2 bottles of wine. I'm on my way to class, and I'm like, I just need to take 1 drink, right? I just need 1 drink to like ease and comfort and to relax and to feel like I'm going to be a part of the classroom and to be, to be productive. So I just need 1 drink. right? And that's at 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, I wake up or come to at noon and both bottles are gone. I never knew why I did that. You know, I find out in Alcoholics Anonymous that I have an allergy, you know, that I need to have the second drink more than I needed to have the first one. And I need to have the third one more than I needed to have the second one. What a concept. I have no idea. And thank God that it tells me that. Thank you for telling me, you know, how fatal, you know, what I have, you know, it is. Thank you for telling me all these things. Thank you for telling me the severity. You know, thank you for telling me about the mental obsession. Thank you for telling me, you know, that I get restless, you know, irritable and discontent, sober. You know, it says, and there is a solution, you know, because everybody gets sober. Everybody gets sober, you know, but how do you stay sober? It says that men and women, although they stop drinking for months or years, like most of them do, they react much like other men. You know, what I got going on, the world has, you know, has it going on. You know, the alcoholic is not unique in the fact that my feelings are different, right? My emotions are not different. The way I drink is different. Everybody has fear in certain levels, you know, everybody is self-obsessive to certain levels. Everybody has selfishness. Everybody is self-centered. Everybody, you know, all those things, the human race, I have what everybody else has. Not everybody has what I have, which is why I have to treat it. Because if I don't treat it, then I die. Others don't. Others just live their lives, you know, in quiet desperation until the day they die. I can't do that. I can't do that. So I learn a lot of things. I learn a lot of things in Alcoholics. It gives me a lot of knowledge. It gives me a lot of knowledge. You know, it tells me that lack of power is my dilemma, and I have to find a power by which I could live. Ain't that the truth? My problem is living. My problem is living. How to function in this world. How to be a productive member of society. How to be in a relationship. Right? How to be a friend. I'm incapable. I can't be a daughter to my parents. I've been incapable of doing that. I lack compassion. I lack compassion and empathy. I always have. You know, how can I do that? I never think that I'm wrong. I always think that I'm right. I think about myself far too much. You know, I never had a true conversation with anybody until I had a sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the first time ever I listened to another woman. Before AA, you might have thought you were talking to me, but you weren't talking to me. I was too busy wondering, where's the bar? Where's the drink? How's my hair? How does my makeup look? How do my clothes look? Who's talking about me? Who's behind you? Who's the next one? You know, it says that I'm restless, irritable, and discontent. That's an understatement. That's an understatement. I'm beyond anxious. If I'm here, I want to be, you know, in Tennessee. If I'm in Tennessee, I want to be in Canada. If I'm at the Dolphin game, I want to be at the Bills game. If I'm at the, you know, if I'm at the football game, I want to be at the basketball game. I'm completely unhappy anywhere I go, and that's me sober. So I have to come to believe that a power bigger than myself can relieve me of this insanity. I'm completely insane. You know, only a person like me, I have to be completely insane to show up to the same places that I've been showing up to and doing the same things that I've been doing. I have to stop. Everything that I was doing before needs to go out. Roland Hazard, Carl Jung said that to Roland Hazard. You know, as far as I'm concerned, that's where AA started, and Bill White seems to agree with that too after the letters that he wrote to Carl Jung. You know, my ideas, emotions, and attitudes need to be cast to one side, and a brand new set of concepts and motives need to be put in its place. That's what needs to happen here in Alcoholics Anonymous, to me in Alcoholics Anonymous. I need to have a vital spiritual experience, a complete psychic change that, you know what, nothing in the planet could have done for me. Nothing on the planet could have done for me, because I believe what the big book says, that if a miracle or more and a better philosophy of life were sufficient, I would have recovered a long time ago. You know who couldn't keep me sober? Deepak Chopra. Believe me, I bought every single book at Barnes and Nobles from Deepak Chopra. Could not keep me sober. Eckhart Tolle could not keep me sober. Oprah Winfrey, Soulful Sunday, I wish she would have. She couldn't keep me sober. You know, therapy couldn't keep me sober. Nothing. I am beyond, I believe it. You know why I believe it? Because I believe I have the allergy, and I believe I have the mental obsession. And I believe that I'm in the doctor's opinion. You better believe that I am in we agnostics. You know, I can't. I am beyond human aid. No human power can relieve, what an awesome word, relieve me of my alcoholism. of my body, of my mental, of my spiritual malady, none of those things. I can't be relieved from it. I couldn't, 13 years ago, and I can't today. I can't today. So what's the goal? The goal is to have a relationship with God. I used to think the goals were the steps. I used to think the goals were the steps. If I do the steps, I'll be better. If I do the steps, I'll be better. If I do the steps, I'll be better. Yes, if I do the steps, I'll be better, because if I do the step, I'm going to get a relationship with God. And he makes me better. And he makes me better. It says that the central fact of our lives today is the fact that our Creator has entered into our heart and lives. I say live because my Creator lives in my heart in a way which is indeed miraculous. There's no step on the planet that could change my heart. I needed a heart transplant. I needed my heart to change, because that same person that had zero compassion 13 years ago, just because I did the steps does not mean that I had compassion, 5 years after. Compassion, a step does not produce compassion. The steps do not produce, it did not, for me, it did not produce love. The steps, I could do 1,000 amends. I could do 1,000 amends and still carry hate in my heart. And I did. So I did the steps, obviously. I sponsor women. I love talking in AA meetings. I love AA. I do big book studies. I do seminars. I do conferences. I love the whole shebang. And at 8 years sober, I went absolutely insane in Alcoholics Anonymous. Absolutely insane. In the middle of AA. In the middle. I didn't have my feet out. I wasn't nothing. In the middle. Coming to meetings in the middle of a step series, doing inventory. Somewhat getting on my knees and doing, not picking up the phone, talking to my sponsees because I was so full of fear. I was full of fear. I don't know where it came from. Just completely full of fear. Going crazy in my house, having obsessive thoughts that weren't even true, intrusive thoughts. I just, I had a mental breakdown in Alcoholics Anonymous. And then what that looks like to me is, when I'm full of fear, fear is the chief activator of all my other character defects. So when I'm full of fear, what happens to me is rage. I get very angry and I act out. And at the time I had, my son was 2. And I was like a tyrant here in the house. I was a tyrant. I was screaming and I was telling him, don't do this and don't do that. And, it was, I could say that it was out of character, but it's not out of character. That is my character. That is my character. That is my first nature. That is who I am without a relationship with God. I thought I had a relationship with God because I gave God a lot of lip service. AA is, almost all the steps are God. And the big book and almost every page is God. And I'm a good study. I'm a good study. I know how to repeat and I know how to, so I thought that I had a relationship with God. I didn't have a relationship with God. I thought AA was God. I needed to get to know God. God was the only one that was going to change me, and I just couldn't take it anymore because I was full of rage and I was screaming and I became a tyrant. And at night, I couldn't even live with myself because of all the shame and the guilt of all the things that I was doing throughout the day. And I couldn't live like that a single day more. And I needed to do something drastic. I needed to do something that I hadn't done before. I needed to do, because I tend to think that I'm doing it all, right? Just because I do like a couple of inventories and I get on my knees and I pray 3 times a day and I do the 3, 7, and 11 and I sponsor women. So I tell myself I'm doing it all, and I kind of like believe the lie. I've always believed a lie. And, but I wasn't doing it all. So I needed to do some drastic things, and I needed to join a Bible study and I needed to, the big book tells me that I could do all this, it tells me, to join church memberships, that some of them don't, but most of them did, and I needed to do that as well. I needed to get so close to God and I needed to go because I was mad at God. I thought God was doing this to me. And I decided that if I was going to be mad at somebody, well, why don't you get to know him? If you're so mad at God, why don't you get to know him? And see who you're really mad at. And I started to get to know God. And it's the best thing that has ever happened to me. God told me to follow him 4 years ago. And I've been doing that ever since. And the fear, it says, and the fear will leave you immediately. And that's exactly what it did. The fear has come back, but it's never been the same fear. The feelings have come back. The selfishness has come back from time to time, but it's never the same selfishness. I'm a completely different person. I don't talk the same. I don't think the same. I don't react the same. I definitely don't have shame and guilt anymore in my life. I just don't, I'm still not, I'm a human being, and things happen and I worry and I have fear from time to time, but everything is just different. Everything is different after knowing Alcoholics Anonymous and after studying the Word of God. It's just different. I have found hope. I have found hope in something, a hope that's, I've been put on a rock, on a firm foundation, that when the winds come, this house does not shake. It used to shake all the time before. It used to shake all the time before, and I would go down. Every time I would go down, I would take 3 people down with me. I take nobody. I don't go down anymore. I just don't. I have an unshakable foundation, with a relationship with God, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful because Alcoholics Anonymous has led me there. And today I see everything different. I do everything different today. I do everything for God. Everything that I do today, I offer it over to him. I offer myself over to him, and I offer my day over to him. And everything that, this meeting that I'm doing right now, I'm doing it for him. I know that he's going to give me the words here to come out here. Where God guides, he will provide. I know that he will show me what to say. I know that he will help somebody. Even if I don't help you today, I am certain that I will help somebody, even if it's 8 years from now. Somebody in this meeting is going to remember something that I said probably 8 years from now. You know why I know that? Because that happened to me. That happened to me because at 2 years sober, I heard a man say exactly what I told you today about Bible study, and I didn't need it. I discarded it. I put it in the back burner, and I needed it at 8 years sober. So you know what? That's why I do it. That's why I come to Alcoholics Anonymous. That's why I come to a meeting. I do it because I know that today the blessing is not for me. I know that the blessing is for others. I know that the blessing is for my family. The reason I go to church, you think I want to go to church every day? My son goes to a Catholic school. They have a church on the grounds. So they have a small church every day from 8 to 8:30. You think I want to do that every day? I don't want to do that every day. You know why I do it? Because the woman that goes into church is different than the woman that comes out of church. And the woman that comes out of church, my husband needs to see that woman. And AA needs to see that woman. And my sponsees need to see that woman. And my sponsor needs to see that woman. And my neighbors, my neighbors need to see that woman. The woman that God is transforming, the woman that God is molding, the woman that God is refining. That's the woman that people need to see, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that I get to truly have this amazing, joy-filled, life that I did not deserve, but I've been given as a gift. And I just want to treasure it, every day of my life. So I just want to thank you guys so much for allowing me to come here and to give my testimony tonight. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday. Thank you so much.